Wonderful. So thank you all for joining us on this informational webinar that will be focusing on the upcoming VelocityX Climate Innovation Hackathon. So just to get started, we did want to do some quick introductions. I help run Ensemble. We are an open innovation consultancy that works with the federal government as well as with universities to design and implement different open innovation initiatives such as hackathons, prize competitions, and other crowdsourcing campaigns. We are also joined by our hackathon sponsor, the College of Southern Maryland, and more specifically the Velocity Center, where this event will be physically hosted. And then we are also running with the Bright Idea online platform. That is the website that is used to facilitate the hackathon. So that's where you will be uploading your ideas, submitting concepts, and that's also where the judging and evaluation and scoring of the hackathon submissions occurs. So today we're just going to be going over the hackathon, providing an overview on what this event was going to look like. We're going to go over all of the key prizes that are going to be distributed through this hackathon. Then we'll dive into the challenges. What are the specific things that participants will be building? And then how the judges will be evaluating and ranking the different types of solutions, how you can participate with the next steps. And then we'll also close out with some QA. So if you have questions, we'll try and address all of your questions on today's call. So just some quick housekeeping. Basically, you will be able to ask questions via the Q&A feature. And if you are interested in just asking your question, you can raise your hand and I can allow you to talk so that you can just kind of pipe in with a question. And like I said, we'll really try to answer everyone's questions so that you have the information you need. And then, like I said, this recording will be available on the Bright Idea VelocityX hackathon website. So it's very important that you check that website. It has all of the information needed. And again, like I said, is where you will register your team. So just to give you an overview, this is the second VelocityX hackathon. And it is a virtual and in-person event held at the Velocity Center. And the whole purpose of this hackathon is to invent, design, and test new solutions surrounding the impact of climate change. So I'd like to invite everyone on this call to join us and help transform these kind of community climate problems into problem-solving opportunities. Very exciting work that we get to do. And this is the overall goal of the hackathon. So as I mentioned, the event is occurring on March 30th and 31st. It'll go from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. both days. And, you know, there is a virtual component, but we do recommend coming and hacking at the Velocity Center because there is, you know, there's a certain level of collaboration that you get when you come in person. There'll also be food and in-person mentors. So you certainly will be able to participate virtually, but we do recommend coming in person and really getting a sense of all of the collaborative opportunities, the mentorship opportunities. And like I said, last year there was food, so that's pretty nice as well. But really important that those key dates, March 30th and 31st at the Velocity Center. Those are like the key details to keep in mind as you think about building a team, building an idea, and blocking some of your scheduling around that time. So, you know, first question everyone asks is like, why should I participate? Well, really, there's a few key reasons. Most importantly, right, most of the participants are students, pretty hungry for money. There's a lot of prize money that we're going to be distributing. Over 2 days, we're going to be distributing $12,000 to approximately 6 teams. So, the top prize will make $3,000 in just 2 days. So there's a ton of money on the table. So that's pretty great reason to participate. But there's also a bunch of technical resources to build out your entrepreneurial ideas. This is a great avenue to think about either building a startup or a new company in the climate change space. This is a perfect venue to build out that capability. Maybe go and meet a new team member or business partner that you think could actually help you, start a new company or start a new project. So the mentorship and the networking is really a valuable thing here. So when we asked participants last year why, like what are some of the things that they really enjoyed about it, it was the mentorship and the networking that they found really valuable. And then of course it's going to help your resume, winning one of these hackathons. It's an important thing that you can throw on your resume, and really tell a story about, a real world application that you built. I know when I was doing that, I wanted to find these different types of projects that I felt would actually make a community impact, a real impact. And so this hackathon is a great opportunity to do that. So for all of these reasons, again, we really invite you to come and participate. It's going to be also just a lot of fun. These are really exciting. You only have so much time, so you really have to be making fast decisions, working really quickly, working with a small team. And I find that to be really fun as well. So those are the key reasons, I would say, yeah, that's why you should participate. So just to go over the overall prizes. So this hackathon is really comprised of two challenges. One of them is marketing and less technical, and one of them is more focused on data visualization and data science and is more technical. But both challenges will have a $6,000 prize purse. So the way that the prizes work is that the first place ranked team will receive 3,000, then second 2,000, and then third place 1,000. So like I said, at least 6 teams are going to be receiving at least $1,000 or more. So there's a lot of opportunities to win a prize, win a cash prize here, because even if you aren't, even if your team isn't first place, you still might make $2,000 or $1,000. So yeah, like I said, there's enough, a lot of money that's going to be distributed, and that's really exciting as well. But I wanted to more focus on the core theme of this hackathon, which, and this is a quote from Barack Obama, "There's one issue that will define the contours of this century more dramatically than any other, and that is the urgent threat of a changing climate." And so really we wanted to take this next version of the hackathon and try and dive deeply into an issue that all around we feel is impacting our region, and that we feel students and participants will feel passionate about. I think we all have seen different challenges that arise with the changing climate, and we want to give students and participants an opportunity to truly tackle these and roll up their sleeves and try and figure out different types of solutions that we can implement to help address this urgent threat. So that's really kind of the core theme behind this year's hackathon, and making sure that the solutions we build may have a meaningful impact in the future, and you're building a skill set so that you can perhaps go out in the future and go work on some of these bigger issues in your career. So just to provide an overview on the overall climate challenges, like I mentioned, there's 2 kind of tracks that your team can sign up for, either the marketing strategy challenge or the data visualization challenge. So ultimately, both of these are a little bit more focused on communicating risks of a changing climate. And also that part of that is incorporated with our partner, Charles County, who themselves are facing different challenges So Charles County is kind of a benefactor or is interested in these solutions. So some of these solutions might actually be implemented by Charles County as they are really tackling some of these issues. And we are working with them to understand and unearth some different types of solutions that could actually be implemented in real life. So that's an important consideration there, and why we selected these two types of challenges. So to get to the first challenge, this is the marketing strategy challenge. So this is about communicating sea level rise risks to at-risk populations. So this is going to be a hackathon challenge focused on creating effective marketing and community outreach strategies to increase the overall understanding of these with different residents of at-risk populations, and helping them understand what resources are available to them. So there is some geographic precision that we want. Ideally, the messages and campaign should incorporate data, should incorporate different types of messages and creative assets that can help communicate these risks, and also connect the risks to potential government resources. Like I mentioned, the Charles County government is supporting this, so that the communities at risk can understand different resources that they can use, such as getting access to different information, getting access potentially to different finance or insurance. One of the big problems is water surge from floods as sea levels rise. So a whole bunch of communities over the course of the next decade will be at risk when their property perhaps never was at risk. So helping the community build that resiliency and understand the types of resources or information that they need to take action on that kind of that new risk landscape, that's really the focus of this. So as we mentioned, the campaign should focus on increasing awareness of government resources and services available to residents, and encouraging them to take advantage of these resources. But ultimately, we want this type of campaign to be about building trust and engagement with the community, and making information accessible and easy to understand, so that different at-risk populations have the information resources they need to help adapt to the rising sea level risks that are pertinent to Southern Maryland. So that is the overall goal of the marketing strategy challenge and what you'll be working on. So ultimately, what actually will you be presenting? Well, with the marketing strategy, really two primary things. Number one, a comprehensive marketing campaign. So this includes tactics, creative messages and materials, a proposed budget, a target audience, a campaign insight that you believe will be a powerful way to communicate the objective of the campaign, and then presenting that campaign during the demo, so that you can explain how you might execute this campaign if you were to get a budget for it. So those are the key elements that you'll be building. Like I said, the campaign plan, and then a presentation of that campaign. And then you might ask, like, how will we be evaluated based on the campaign that we present? So we will be using a 100-point rubric, and then there's a few different types of criteria that judges will be scoring you on. So the creativity and originality of the campaign, the overall feasibility of the campaign, the potential impact on the community, the effectiveness of the communication and engagement strategy, and then also the quality of the presentation. Those will all be basically scored, so that your team could have a max possible 100 points, which would probably mean that you would win the hackathon if you receive that. but this is how you will be evaluated. So when you're building your solution, it's important to consider the criteria that you'll be evaluated against. So to move on to the next challenge, the data visualization challenge. So this is going to be a data science / data visualization and data analysis activity, where the goal is to visualize risks of sea level rise in Charles County. So we envision the participants of the hackathon will create custom data visualization tools using things like Python, Django, JavaScript frameworks, and plugging into different types of open source data sets or APIs, so that the participants can build different types of sea level rise projections, topographic maps, and flood zone information. And ideally, again, we want this to be interactive so that we can communicate different types of risks to officials and residents. And we want to encourage participants to be creative with how you present that data so that's accessible and informative, and ultimately, potentially could be helped incorporate into a tool that can support decision-making and planning for the overall region. So those are kind of the key components with this challenge. And this is the overall goal of the data visualization, but there's I think there can be some really creative and interesting approaches you might take. One of the things that is going to be, I think, both a very significant business opportunity and a significant risk is flood insurance, is helping those at risk understand different types of what the sea level rise risk is, and then the accompanying flood insurance, and what that might be. So this type of tool could help protect the property of different residents and populations. So that's the overall idea behind this data visualization challenge, is to incorporate open source data and open APIs and provide this accessible and informative information on sea level rise risks. So again, what will you be building during the hackathon? So at the end, you'll be submitting a brief description of your data visualization tool and how it addresses the problem statement. So this is something like 1 to 2 paragraphs that gives an executive summary of the tool. Then we want an actual demonstration. So you will ideally would provide a real demo and interact with the data. And then you would be doing this via a presentation to demonstrate how the tool works. And then similarly, we would just want a simple short report that explains the data sources you used, the methods and techniques used to create the visualization, and then any limitations of the tool. So on our challenge website, or on the hackathon website, we have provided some open source data sets that the government and other like nonprofits have released that gives you access to some of this data. So, you're by no means required to use those resources, but we did want to give all teams a chance to take a look at some of the open source data sets that they might be able to incorporate into an interactive data visualization tool. So for example, NOAA, the National Oceanic Atmospheric Agency, they have a really good database and data tool that you might be able to check out. Global Surface Water is a company as well that has access to some of these valuable data sets that you can incorporate into your tool. So again, how will you be evaluated in the data visualization challenge? It's of course slightly different than the evaluation criteria of the marketing strategy. So overall data representation, how well is the data represented in the visualization, use of appropriate chart types, labeling, scaling. Are you effectively presenting data in a way that is using these kind of best practices? interactivity and interaction. Is there some level of interactivity and user engagement in the visualization where a user can explore or dive deeper into the data set? And then clarity and ease of understanding. The visualization should not be overly complex, and it should be interpretable, so that a user would be able to get some key information, perhaps get some informed decision making based on use of that tool. And then, effectiveness in communicating the key insights. Like I said, we want to be able to effectively communicate the key takeaways that the visualization might provide. So, for example, if there is a risk, maybe you flag it with a red flag that a user would be able to quickly identify different areas that are at different risk levels for sea level rise. So again, this is out of 100 points. Your teams will be scored and then ranked, and then the top teams will receive that prize award. So what next? So the most important thing is to jump on the website and then register. Either register your team, invite others to register. If you're trying to form a team, there is the ability to invite folks to join your team. And then you can actually even start building your idea early if you're interested. So 1 or 2 folks have already started building their ideas. And if you go to the challenge website, you will see that there is this tab called Submit Idea. And from there, you will be able to start working on your idea. So those are the most important components. Is first just registering so that we understand that you are able to join us, and then start working on your idea. So that's really the key things to do, next week or the week after that. But the most important thing is we invite you and your team to come and innovate and then win cash prizes on March 30th and 31st. This event is open to everyone. We're inviting students from different universities, of course, College Southern Maryland, St. Mary's, and other universities, so that we can compete, network, and then really try and tackle and dive into some of these real world issues. And again, hopefully have fun. So, like I said, I encourage everyone to take a look at the challenge website. I will quickly just walk through some key components of the website. Julie, can you confirm that you can see my screen here?
Yes, I'm able to see your screen.
Okay, great. So there's a few key things that we want to call out for this website. So you can go and read about each of the data visualization tools. For example, like I mentioned, there's some key resources. So we have the NOAA resource, Global Surface Water resource, the NCAR research for the Climate Explorer, and then a sea level and coastal viewing impacts viewer tool. Again, all useful tools, but you are not restricted to just these. If you find other APIs, if you find other data sets, you can incorporate those as well. But the key is that there's some level of geographic precision within Charles County. So like I said, and then if you go to the challenge resources, we also have some other information that can be useful. For example, demographic information about these regions, and Southern Maryland flooding resources as well. Just to jump to the FAQ, there's a few different questions that we often get. One of them that's most important that I want to speak to the folks on today's call that we often get is, who is keeping the intellectual property? Let's say you do make some awesome idea that could potentially turn into a startup or a business. We do want to say that even though there is some prize money, College of Southern Maryland does not own this intellectual property that you create. You own that. So, the sharing of code or use of open source code is encouraged, but, any solution that's built, you own that. And we are just kind of encouraging you to participate and rewarding you for participating. But that's it. There's no IP ownership transfer that will occur. Some other folks have asked, for example, will there be internet access? And even if you last year don't have a computers can be provided. And then, like I mentioned, there is mentors. So we will have some mentors who will be able to support you during the VelocityX hackathon. So, for example, Beth, she is the Charles County Government Climate Resiliency and Sustainability Officer. So she's a fabulous resource as you're building your tool. She's kind of like your end user. She, potentially could provide you with ideas, with refining your tool, letting you understand where there are opportunities to build a tool or capability so that Charles County and the government can make these types of decisions and inform her process. But we also have other CSM mentors who have who will also be mentors. So there will be a lot of resources for you as your team is building the idea. And then the last thing I did want to call out is this submit idea. So after you've logged in, you will have a chance to then work and actually even build out your idea a little bit ahead of time. Of course, there's no requirement to do this. You can just show up and sign up and go for and basically go for build out the idea. But there is this opportunity to build out your idea ahead of time. And then, yes, Leslie.
Hi, I just wanted to note that when we mentioned that we have computers available, we have a limited amount. We have fewer participants last year, and we're anticipating an increase this year. So if there is a need to borrow one, we probably need to know that in advance so that we can make sure that we can accommodate any requests.
Yep, that's a good point. Thanks for calling that out, Leslie. So I also would encourage, if you do have computer equipment, you should bring that if possible so that you can work on within your own environment. Great. So as I mentioned, this is where you can submit ideas. One or two folks have already started building out some ideas. And then you can also update your profile and invite others to join your team. So if you come to the homepage, you can invite a friend as well. Wonderful. So those are some of the primary things I wanted to chat about today. But with that, we'd like to just open it up for questions. So any of the attendees, if you guys want, you can just throw questions into the Q&A box, and then we will address them. So will mentors be available virtually? So the answer is yes. We can make mentors available virtually. When that happens, we would probably ask you to work with us so that we would pair you with a mentor who can then check in on you. So there is some level of extra coordination that will be needed. But we did have virtual mentors last year. So yeah, I think it's definitely something we can do. But it's important that you just reach out and let us know if you're going to be virtual so that we can make sure that we have a mentor who's available virtually. Great question. Yes, Leslie, go for it.
Just to, excuse me, expand on that question. So far this year, all of our mentors have indicated that they will be physically here in person. But to your point, Ali, we can then identify, one of our in-person mentors to, be the main point of contact for mentoring any teams virtually. That way there'll be a direct point of contact.
Yep, exactly. All right. I'm very new to data analysis for the competition. Are we allowed to use things like Tableau, or are we supposed to build stuff from scratch? Great question. You are under no requirement to build things from scratch. I would really probably, not recommend that. So using Tableau is completely okay. You should be using data analysis tools, and you should be taking this time to improve your skill set with those tools. So even one thing, using even other like AI tools, ChatGPT, if you can use tools to build a better solution, use those tools. In the real world, like we use as many tools as possible, and building things from scratch never really makes sense unless there's a very custom application. So highly recommend that you do use tools like Tableau. Great question. Leslie, anything to jump in and add to that?
Sorry, no, I didn't lower my hand.
Okay, cool. Great question. What other questions does everyone have? All right, we'll give folks 1 or 2 more minutes to ask questions. And then, like I said, if you have any questions that you kind of forgot, or want answered, definitely take a look at this FAQ page. For example, one key question that we have received is, can I enter into both challenges? But the answer is no. You will only be able to compete and present in one challenge, your team. Will the webinar be available for rewatch? Yes, it will. So we will be posting this webinar video on the VelocityX homepage of the website. Can we form teams with other single competitors? Yes, absolutely. I do think that some teams might be formed ahead of time, and then some individuals might form their team when they come into the hackathon in person. So yes, the answer is yes. And some individuals might want to participate by themselves, but in general, we usually see some teams forming on the day of the hackathon, or a few days before the hackathon. Great question. Another important thing to call out, are there any costs for participating? So this is a completely free event, and is designed to create a collaborative environment for you to build out your skill set and win prize awards. So there's no cost at all to participating. All right, looks like questions are starting to slow down. We'll give everyone 1 or 2 more minutes to provide questions. I hope today's webinar was informative And if you haven't done so, please go ahead and register, and then invite any other of your teammates to register as well. All right, we'll give 1 or 2 more minutes for any final questions. This is your last, or this is, a very good opportunity to ask any final questions. But really, thank you very much for participating on this webinar, and we hope it was informative. And we will be following up with the actual recording when it is live on the challenge website. All right, so we're not seeing any more questions, so I think we can go ahead and start to close out this hackathon. Leslie, did you want to have any kind of final words before we close out?
Just thank you all for attending, and please share that this webinar is available to replay to anyone that you know who is interested or who has already registered. And we really look forward to your participation in this year's hackathon. So good luck to everyone. And thank you.
Absolutely. All right, so we will go ahead and close out this webinar. Thank you very much. We're so excited to have you join us on March 30th and 31st for the VelocityX Climate Innovation Hackathon. And with that, we will close out today's recording.